Hi everybody, this is the Lost Boy. Thanks for joining me. Apologies for the poor quality of the game footage, I don't quite know what happened there. This week saw crusty old white dudes back at it again trying to convince everybody's mom that video games are the source of most of the evils in the world. This latest salvo comes after another tragic shooting that took place in a Santa Fe high school. Another over-entitled douchebag decided to solve his problems by wiping out the object of his obsession along with 9 other innocent lives. This attacker's name and face will not be mentioned or shown here, as I and many others believe that this only gives satisfaction and validation to the one person who deserves none. It's sad but true that such shootings have become commonplace in the US. Although the subject of shootings and guns has been a controversial subject for some time, the recent attack at a Parkland, Florida high school in February has brought the entire conversation to a fever pitch. Students affected by the shooting, as well as many others who feel at risk, have dedicated themselves to the cause of finding a solution. This is where the crusty old white dudes come in, because they're always looking for solutions too. Just different solutions is all. The 2 crusties I'm referring to today are the Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the incoming NRA President Oliver North. If these 2 hucksters are to be believed, the cause of so much gun violence in America has absolutely nothing to do with guns at all. Instead, consider the following quote from Lieutenant Governor Patrick. "The video games issue we have got to address in this country. Based on all the research we have done, 97%, according to psychologists and psychiatrists, of teenagers view video games. And 85% of those video games are violent. And what are these games showing you how to do? Kill people." If you like that quote, try this one on as well. "We have 50 million abortions. We have families that are broken apart. No fathers at home. We have incredible heinous violence as a video game. 2 hours a day in front of their eyes. And we stand here and we wonder why this happens to certain students." Wow, I almost don't have the words to respond to this. It doesn't end there though. Mr. Patrick goes on to blame even more not gun stuff, including irresponsible gun owners, not arming teachers, and get this, having too many entrances at schools. I keep fighting with myself over which one of those last 2 are more ridiculous. As for Oliver North, if his name is not familiar to you, you probably won't believe what this guy has got up to. Under former President Ronald Reagan, Oliver North was a National Security Council staffer and was involved in a covert government op which consisted of selling weapons to the Iran-Contra in exchange for cash and hostages. Most of the proceeds were funneled to a rebel group in Nicaragua who were fighting to overthrow the democratically elected government there. All in all, this episode was a huge stain on America's international reputation, and for a little bit it seemed like Oliver North would take the rap for Reagan. Then he won his appeal and everything was just okie dokie. He went on to become a fairly high-profile right-wing commentator and has now been chosen to lead the NRA. In an appearance on Fox News Sunday, he made a statement somewhat mirroring the comments made by Dan Patrick. This is the quote. "The problem that we've got is that we're trying like the Dickens to treat the symptom without treating the disease. And the disease, in this case, isn't the Second Amendment. The disease is youngsters who are steeped in a culture of violence." Now, I'm not some crazy ultra-left anti-gun wingnut, but it's clear to me that a whole hell of a lot of misdirection is taking place here. This is even harder to swallow when you consider that North himself was prominently featured in marketing for the 2012 first-person shooter video game Call of Duty Black Ops 2, hamming up the possibility of real-life threats crossing over into the game concept. I, for one, am getting pretty sick of this tired blame it on the games line, which is very clearly wrong. Look at Japan, probably the most video game-centric country on the planet, and it rarely sees more than 10 gun deaths per year. The low rate of gun violence in Japan is attributed to the Japanese culture in part, but also to comprehensive gun control. Another example is in Australia, where gun deaths and gun suicides have been declining since gun control measures were introduced in 1996 after the Port Arthur massacre. I want to be clear. I don't think we should take everybody's guns away, and I don't think gun legislation is the one and only solution to this problem. But to pretend it has no effect is almost criminal. A combination of common sense gun control and continued emphasis on mental health initiatives is almost certainly the direction to take. Yes, the presence of guns themselves in a country where firearms outnumber citizens is a factor in gun violence. But so, of course, is the mental condition of those deranged enough to commit these kind of acts. To try to tie the blame for these mental defectives to media like video games or film is not only ridiculous, but it's also a very antiquated notion. The following excerpt is from an article on psychology.com entitled, "Violent Video Games Are Good for You." It's hard to believe today, but way back in the 19th century, even the widespread use of the telephone was deemed a social threat. The telephone would encourage unhealthy gossip, critics said. It would disrupt and distract us. In one of the more inventive fears, the telephone would burst our private bubbles of happiness by bringing bad news. Other examples of imagined dangerous media include the internet, tabletop role-playing games, comic books, rock music, and even novels. Yeah, that's right, novels. Am I claiming that no one has ever read a novel or listened to rock music and then thought, hey, let's go kill some folks? Of course not. Predicting what may trigger a vulnerable psyche is like trying to predict the winning lotto numbers. A broken mind may set itself on any number of things, allow an obsession to bloom, which then leads to violence. Any balanced approach to this must include both the identification and treatment of disturbed individuals, but also measures to keep tools of violence safely out of the hands of such people. Or maybe the problem really is that we just have too many doors in schools. Yep. Too many fucking doors. Well, that's it for this week. Please let me know what you think about this week's topic in the comments section. I hope everyone has a great week. Always remember your happy thought, and I'll see you next time.